Greetings, I would like to purchase resources.
You know, most people do that from the ground, like behind the counter.
I will exchange currency for shiny rocks.
I do not get paid enough for this.
Ladies, gentlemen, and
Adventurers of all ages, one of the most daunting systems in all of Starfield is quite simply the experience system. It takes quite a bit of experience to level up, so how do we make that faster? Especially as in this game there is no actual level cap, so experience is actually infinitely farmable to the point that you unlock every single skill in the game. If you want to try this out, this whole thing is based on mostly just automating a crafting process so that you can do it pretty much infinitely. Then when you craft the item, you get 1 experience point. This has been the most prevalent XP farm in the community. We didn't discover it, we have simply streamlined it, found a particularly effective couple of planets for it, and are showing you what it is capable of, even with minimal investment. That one item then, that craft, is worth 1 experience, but we craft 99 of it with every input, which makes it 99 experience per craft cycle. Once you get set up properly, even in a beginner version of this setup that has various levels, you can easily craft upwards of 2,000 of these in just a few seconds, which extrapolates out to being 12,000 experience per minute on the very basic version of it. And that is a ton of experience relative to a lower level character. The beauty of this setup is that it is infinitely scalable. The more resources that you put into it, the more resources come out of it. You can then use those resources to make your setup even more intricate, and then more resources will come out of it, which means that you can craft even more of these per loop. So essentially, you just use the beginner version of this to build up credits and even more metal resources, which you can then use to make your original XP farm even bigger and bigger and bigger, and the XP that you can gain from this process doesn't actually have a top end as a result. It's essentially an infinite potential. You can easily hit over 60,000 experience per minute if you really put a time building up your base of operations, but given that while there is no level cap, there is a limit to how many skill points you could ever want to spend, so reaching that number is just sort of past the point of reasonable need. You will never, ever actually gain anything from reaching a point of 60,000 experience per minute because you'll reach the cap in seconds. It's just amazing though that it is still possible. With all that said, let's talk about the specific process that we'll be doing and the specific planet that is generally the best for doing this on. In order to get started, you essentially need a few thousand credits to get going, as we can just buy our first initial set of basic materials. The easiest place to do this is super early on in the game in New Atlantis on Jameson. Right when you leave your ship for the first time, the engineer will mention a shop called Jameson Mercantile. Simply head down the ramp from the ship and stick to the left until you enter the larger retail area. Directly in front of you here, you can see Jameson Mercantile. Go inside of here and speak to the vendor, asking to look at their resources. Here you just want to buy out all of their stock on the following items. I'll put it all on the screen just to make it simple. Adaptive frames, aluminum, beryllium, cobalt, copper, iron, lubricant, nickel, tungsten, and zero wire. You're going to want quite a bit of all of these to get started, so buy the shop clean out of these items, then find somewhere to wait for 24 hours nearby to reset the stock on the shop, and then buy all this stuff again. Do this a few times, then we're going to split off a bit. Next, I'm going to show you our location and the simple method of generating all the materials that we need, but in order to make all of this properly self-sufficient, what you need to have is a material farm set up already for aluminum and iron. I will talk about that a bit later on, as it uses similar concepts to the farm itself, and it is one of the earlier things that you'll set up, so many of you likely already have that part of the setup, but yes, we will round back to it later on for those who do want to know. In any case, for our main resource, we are looking for 2 specific materials, cobalt and nickel. Technically, any planet with these resources will do, but one particularly effective one, the best that I've seen so far, is the Vega 2e moon in the Vega system. You can find the system up here, far north, I guess, is a bit of a weird word to use in space, but it makes sense the way that the star map works. Then in this system, just look for the correct moon orbiting Vega 2, you're looking for Vega 2e once again. If you scan the resources of this area, you can see plenty of different materials available, but we have a good density of both cobalt and nickel, which is great, that's what we're after. If you look at the scanned ground, you need to find the area where the cobalt and the nickel overlap as shown through the color system. You want a perfect border between the two. Land there, then take out your scanner and find the border itself by just running around and watching what pops up on your scanner. If you find an area that says it has both nickel and cobalt, open the outpost menu with your scanner open to plop down an outpost, and then you can look in more detail and see what the resources are in the area and where they are, as they will be highlighted when you are choosing the correct extractor. Nickel to extract nickel, cobalt to extract cobalt, obviously. Your first step then is to set up a handful of nickel extractors in the nickel vein area, and also a handful of cobalt extractors in the cobalt vein area. After that, we need power. This planet has an atmosphere, so we're going to power it with wind turbines to keep it simple. On a planet that has no atmosphere, you would instead use the solar panels. Simply make enough of these so that your power needed is never in the red, and then you're golden. After that, you want to set set up a line of storage boxes near each extraction zone. Simply place them in a line like so. Once you have done that, enter the modify mode within the outpost builder, and then you can right-click to create links. Create a link between all of your nickel extractors to one single one of your storage containers on an end. Then create a link from that storage container that they all go to the storage container beside it. Then from that new storage container to the one beside that, so on and so forth until you reach the end of your containers. This creates a self-managing system, so when ore is mined, it always moves to the furthest away storage container until it is filled up, allowing you to fill multiple storage containers with no human interaction. Your next step is to make a landing pad. This thing is massive. It takes up a ton of space, really quite a hassle, honestly, but stick it wherever you can actually make it fit within your circle. Once you've done that, you want to create a transfer container. This allows you to easily move resources from your storage containers directly into your ship's cargo hold. Do this by going to your ship menu, then pressing the button to look at your cargo hold inventory. Then at the bottom you can see I am pressing Q twice to change the inventory to the outpost itself. Then you can just en masse move all of these materials from the outpost to your ship very easily. The final two pieces to make all this work then are quite simply a chair or any other type of furniture that you can sit on, which I recommend placing right at the bottom of the stairs to your landing pad. Then also right beside that you want an industrial workbench. From here your loop is simple. Use the chair to let time pass. This planet has quite funky time dilation, so 24 local hours waited is 223.5 hours universal time, which is far more than enough time for all of your containers to fill up. After you finish waiting, move all of your new resources to your ship's cargo hold, then stand up and use the workbench in front of you here that you want to specifically use to craft the ISO-centered magnet. This requires 1 cobalt and 1 nickel per craft, making it super cheap, and we are going to line this up so that you press E to accept, then it shows quantity. Simply place your cursor over the maximum amount limit of 99. Then you can press E to accept, click once, E to confirm. So E twice, click once, then E twice, then click once. Super easily repeatable, very quickly in a loop that lets you craft 100 of these in a fraction of a second, thus allowing the crazy XP rates that we get. You can craft 1,000 of these without batting an eye, and here's the thing. Very quickly you'll notice that you have significant weight problems starting when you do this, and you have two options for that. One, just drop the magnets on the ground. Toss them away, never think about them again, only use them for the XP. This is the most efficient way to keep endlessly XP farming, but alternatively you can simply take them, walk them to your ship manually, fly to a vendor, and sell them, where they go for around 4 credits a piece. Considering again, you can easily craft thousands upon thousands of these in seconds, that actually fetches a pretty fair price so long as you can find enough vendors to pay enough credits for it. And that's all of the basics. As far as scaling this infinitely upwards goes, what you need more than anything is more storage containers. You can research higher quality extractors, you can add more extractors in, you can get higher quality power sources as well, and that all makes it a bit faster and a bit more efficient, but the main deal here is by doing a 24-hour local wait, even without leaving this planet, you will fill up even a pretty hefty farming setup, able to scale up again pretty much infinitely, meaning the maximum experience per hour that you can get is actually pretty much incalculable, and at the end of the day, more than anything, it comes down to just how quickly you can do the craft button inputs. And so this easily tops out at just tens of thousands of experience per minute even, which is just, again, more than you would never actually need even to use for more than a few minutes to be higher level than you'd ever dream of being otherwise. All that said, let's talk about that iron and aluminum farm that I mentioned earlier. Put simply, you need these materials to make adaptive frames, and you need adaptive frames to make storage, and storage is your main bottleneck for increasing the production scale of all of this. The best planet that I recommend for farming these two materials is Murfid IV in the Murfid system, all the way over here. It's not massively far from the starting areas either, so it's actually pretty easy to reach. If you scan this body once you get here, you'll find it has both iron and aluminum, so simply find a place where they overlap and then do the same basic setup you did earlier to create a simple iron and aluminum farm to fuel your other farms in the future. To put it simply, the outpost mechanic in this game is sort of busted in a way that is just great for the player. The reason all this works is because you can skip time in local time. Resource generators, though, all work in universal time, so a planet with extremely long hours and days just creates efficiency by existing for you to abuse the wait mechanic. The best part about all of this, too, is you aren't even locked into doing it on repeat. Once the outpost is set up in the first place, you can just use it for a few minutes, get a few levels if you just want to be a little bit stronger, then you can come back literally whenever you want to repeat that process. You can use this to power level yourself into oblivion over just a few dozen minutes, or you can just use it whenever you want, just a little bit, a few levels quick at a time to surpass any specific challenge that is before you. And that pretty much covers everything, everyone. The only things that you'll need to set yourself up a functional experience farm with infinite scalability, one that you can easily take past the point of being necessary. After all, more than a few thousand experience per minute is just bragging rights at that point, let's be real. These are the planets that I believe to be the best for our resource farming purposes as well, especially due to the rate of time passing they have too. If you follow everything that I've laid out here, you will not only only gain experience at a ridiculously just unnecessary rate, you will also create massive amounts of magnets for you to actually sell if you choose to do that too, and take that extra step, and then you can farm a good bit of credits too at the same time, because why not? I hope you've all enjoyed this then, and I hope you are able to make good use out of this, and it makes you get even more fun out of your journey with Starfield. Like if you liked the video, subscribe to the notification bell for more, and most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, stay sweet.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.